listening to a bunch of like AM country radio and stuff like that, so I had a lot of that kind of classic Kenny Rogers, Barbara Mandrell, Alabama, like mainstream country from the 70s and early 80s, Conway Twitty and all that stuff, that really spoke to me when I was little. And then I started playing guitar when I was about 14, electric guitar, and then I was completely into like Iron Maiden and Metallica and Deep Purple and Slayer and like British hard rock and metal. What kind of guitar did I have? I have a Gibson Les Paul Custom, which I've had since I was 17. Still have it. It's my prized possession. But anyway, the banjo it just called to me later in life, like in my 20s. I heard Bella Fleck, and then my whole like country loving childhood came back to me in kind of a weird, because Bella's not super country at times, but it kind of opened that up to me, and I started hanging out at this bluegrass festival and met these guys there, and it just tumbled into this happy accident of, but yeah, medieval history was it was something else entirely, and I walked away from it open-armed.
So Jeff?
Yeah, I saw him late.
Somebody mentioned on stage that you were a Juilliard grad.
Not really. No, of course not.
I was just making fun of him because he's playing the computer.
No, it was completely a joke. Sorry.
He's a good performance in Juilliard.
So what made you decide to play gas?
I was one day wanted to build a wash tub bass, and I didn't have a wash tub around. And a friend of mine had this gas tank, so we're like, that thing will work, and bolted a neck on it, and it worked pretty good, so I bolted the different one, which is the one I play now. It was just sort of evolved. It's just kind of a fancy wash tub bass. It just sort of evolved into that thing.
Have you ever thought of using anything else?
You could use anything that was hollow. You could make, people make instruments out of cigar boxes and washed up gourds, all kinds of stuff. So, no, not at all. Yeah, taught by other people, really, more than self-taught.
How did you start?
How did I start?
Like with music and stuff?
Playing bass in crappy punk rock bands prior for high school. Not that they were that crappy. Sorry, my old bandmates. That I just.
As long as they had interesting names, that's all that matters.
Great Caesar's Ghost.
Great Caesar's Ghost, yeah. That was the name of the first one.
Can you give me some highlights of the 2008 album, I'll Be Around?
I'll Be Around. It was really fun while we were recording that album. I really liked the space that we were at, and I really liked when we were hanging out on the porch and stuff there, and I think that studio is gone.
Yeah.
What do you want to know again now? I lost track. The highlights of it? I don't know. I like pretty much all of it. Are you talking about the recording session? That's hard to say for me. I drink a lot of bourbon.
You did drink a lot of bourbon. Bullet.
Yep. No. Well, I do. I don't know. I kind of liked the whole thing. The highlight of it, I don't know, I guess was like when it was coming to completion and you start, all this work starts paying off and you start to be like, this is going good and I like how it's happening. I guess that would be the best part of it once it's done.
You guys have kind of paved the way or helped pave the way for other kind of punk bluegrass bands and larger music. Can you compare that scene now to when you guys first started? I mean, how it's changed over the years?
Yeah, well, I don't think there was there weren't a whole lot of people doing string band music at all, unless they were doing really traditional stuff, like kind of an Earl Scruggs sounding banjo guy and kind of the standard canon, which is great stuff. But at the time, the Bad Livers, Danny Barnes, they were out and about and doing stuff, and I remember their bass player wearing like Misfits t-shirts and stuff and being like, that band's probably pretty cool. Like, we ended up doing a show with them with Scroat Belly at some point or something, but it has changed a lot. I think, especially in our region in the Midwest, it's blown up a bunch, and most of those bands are really, are surprisingly gracious in saying things about how we influenced them. And we've been around for 15 years, so I guess it's not that surprising that we've helped carve out a Midwestern new wave of bluegrass, whatever, pointy horns music. But it's a bit more aggressive, and I don't think we should take complete credit for it, but we helped shape it. Certainly, just judging from how many people have been really cool in saying, I've been seeing you since forever, and we started this band basically because of that, and that's pretty gratifying and really cool. But there's a ton of it now, and there's festivals dedicated to almost that kind of music now, which is that's cool.
Do you think it's kind of opened the door for people who may not listen to bluegrass or even want to try to listen to bluegrass to kind of open the door to a new area of fans?
I think that's what's been the hook for us, is like this crossover thing where we've been on tour a bunch of times with the Reverend Horton Heat, rockabilly overlord, and he's kind of been our godfather and took us around to a bunch of these markets and kind of busted us open. And I think a lot of those rockabilly people are a little bit more open to the country and bluegrassy stuff, but most of them would be like, traditional bluegrass. I think they would be a little bit like yawn, but with the kind of aggression in some of our topics and our songs and stuff like that, it crosses over. And then we play at some festivals where you can have a super old lady and a young kid that are both into it, and everything in between. Like, our demographic seems to be wider, and we didn't plan that or anything, but like, people can latch on to what sounds kind of traditional, and then the stuff that sounds more like people like the rock part of it, then they can get enough of that too in the show. And so we play at rock bars. That's what we do. We play at divey rock bars, and our crowd is kind of gritty, and that's just the way it's always been. It's cool.
Has the traditional bluegrass industry, but artists and stuff been pretty accepting of you guys, or is it kind of like, oh, those are those guys?
We've had mixed results. We've done some shows with the Del McCoury band, and they were super cool. And Del McCoury is as traditional as it gets in a way. He played with so many people and was a trailblazer, and we have tons of respect for him. And they were super cool to us. And without naming names, there were a couple of weird shows that we did. One in Nashville where there was a really noted bluegrass guy that was sort of turned his nose up at us, and was kind of a dick. Excuse my language. But whatever, yeah, it's it's just someone like that, they almost equate their bluegrass to their faith in God, it's all part of, it's religion to them. And I don't feel the same way. And so if they feel like us taking elements of that music and twisting it and having fun with it in different ways that the bluegrass forefathers never saw, then then you just have to be like, okay, well, people aren't going to like everything. I don't like everything. This here I don't really like. And I don't expect everyone to like us either. So it's just the people that do like it, that's awesome. And people that don't, then they can listen to Celine Dion or whatever they like, and it's cool.
Do you have plans to come back to LA anytime soon?
We don't have anything on the books, but we hope to be back west as soon as our album is done, which is kind of in various stages of completion. So, but yeah, we always come west, and we love coming west, and we'll be back in LA for sure.
Is there a different feel to the crowds here? I mean, because you do have a good punk scene
Yeah.
in LA. Can you describe what the scene is like here for you guys?
Well, it feels like, we've been doing it for a long time, all the way back to Jack's Sugar Shack on Hollywood and Vine in 98 or 7, something like that. Yeah, which was, so we were doing those shows by ourselves, and then we started coming through with Reverend Horton Heat, and it seems like we did some other support shows in California. We were through with Primus 2 years ago, but that was up northwest further. But yeah, so it feels like then when we come back on our own, we see a lot of those Reverend Horton Heat people, and they bring kind of this punky rockabilly vibe, and then there's certain people that just like this kind of twisted Americana stuff that find us just through the internet or through the airwaves somehow and vibe us out. But our crowds are kind of, you know, as different as Californians are from Kansans or people from Illinois. Like, our crowds have this kind of common thread to them, like kind of a little gritty, a little drinky, and that's cool. They're fun to hang out with, and for the most part, really good people. And so whether they're from here or there, but yeah, we do get the kind of punk rockabilly thing a little bit because of our association with the Rev over here.
Blake Shelton and Miranda Lambert headline on Saturday, while Brad Paisley and Sheryl Crow headline on Sunday. Reporting from Indio, California, Jason Rzucidlo for AmericaJR.com.